Good morning. Today I'll tell you a story. It is a story about a child who had lost his parents and living on the streets and footpaths of the city, picking leftover food from the dustbins, living on rubbish, sleeping on footpaths, railway platforms. He would have been about 10 years of age. It was a winter morning when I noticed a kid playing with a bicycle tire. He would have picked up some discarded tires from a local store and was running with it on the interconnecting roads inside the campus. I was moving out in my car, headed for the city, when this boy bumped into my car. I applied brakes and the car stopped immediately. The boy fell on the road. For a moment, a chill ran through me. Was he hit too bad? Had I run over him? Was it fatal? I knew I was at low speed. The impact would have been light, I guessed. But I was frightened, praying that nothing untoward happened to the child. I got out of my car to see what had happened. The child appeared to be lying unconscious on the ground. I was shocked for a moment. My hands, body were numb and would not move to pick up the child. After a few moments, I gathered my senses and moved towards the boy. As I bent to pick up the child, the boy got up and ran across the road towards his friends. I was taken aback by what I just saw. However, I gave a sigh of relief, hoping that nothing untoward had happened to the child and indirectly to me. But during those few moments of the incident, a crowd had gathered around me. There was a lull, and one amongst the crowd shouted at me for being careless. "You guys in cars have no value for life," another shouted. One person standing next to me waved to me to move on. "The child is safe anyway, so please carry on. Be more careful while you drive," he advised me. Seeing the child behaving normally, the crowd slowly started dispersing. The boy was still standing on the roadside, talking to his friends. I could have left the place also, but some thought kept nagging me. Was the child really okay? I went up to him and asked him how he was now. He replied he was fine. He told me that he had got frightened when the car came very close to him and had fainted. There were no bruises on his body. I was still not sure about his health, and even though he appeared fine, I wanted to take him to a government hospital and get him checked by one of my friends, a neurologist. But the boy insisted he did not want any medical checkup. But seeing him walk and talk normally, I decided not to pursue the matter. Instead, I asked him where he stayed so I could drop him home. He said he had no home. His parents were no longer alive. His parents were masons in a building construction company. One day, while working on a high rise building, the building collapsed and both of them died. He was staying with his other two friends, sometimes on the pavement, sometimes on the veranda of public buildings. I took pity on him and brought him to my house. I gave him something to eat. I asked him what his name was, and he said people called him Raja. I asked him if he could work in my house and garden. I offered him a decent pay and a servant quarter to stay. He seemed to be in great need, so he agreed to stay with us, but with a condition that he would be treated as one in the family and not as a servant. I agreed. The first few days I was observing the boy. The boy was working well. He was cleaning the utensils, floor, working in the garden. I thought I had made a good decision to keep him. So a month passed by, and on his salary day, I promptly gave him his salary and along with it a new shirt, a pair of trousers, and a footwear. I guessed he should be happy with what he got. I then trained him to pick up and drop my child to a nearby school on a bicycle, which he did eagerly. He was a quick learner. He learned to ride my scooter, though I never allowed him to take it to the city. He started getting vegetables and other items from the grocery. He started teaching the local language to my child and bedtime stories in the night, for which my wife was immensely pleased. Slowly, we were all getting dependent on him for all the household chores. One evening, when I came home, Raja told me that a neighboring sweetmeat shop had put his second-hand SUV on lottery. He told me that a lot of people had purchased lottery tickets, and so he had purchased two for us also. On the day of the lottery, Raja stayed home. He gave us the tickets. Me and my wife went to the store. The store had called the city magistrate for picking out the lucky number of the draw. There were hundreds of people gathered at the shop. It was a bit noisy out there when the magistrate pulled out one lucky number and called it out on the microphone. In the din, I did not realize that he was calling out my name and number. I had won the lottery. I drove the SUV to my house. It was a lucky day. My neighbors started telling me that I had a gem in my house. They used to talk about him. Raja never said no to any job. He would hardly sleep, and no one ever saw him eating his food. Was he an alien from a different world? I jokingly asked Raja one day that I would have his DNA checked to see if he was human. I wondered when I saw all his clothes washed and hung up for drying the next evening. I thought I was just keeping that the boy was just keeping his things clean. The next morning, when I woke up, we rang the servant quarters bell several times, but there was no response. We went to the servant quarters only to find the door ajar and no one, neither him nor his baggage inside. We could make out that he had left the place, but I failed to understand why he had left suddenly. He could have told us and then left. What was the reason for leaving quietly in the middle of the night? I went back home to check if everything was in place in my house. Had he cheated on us? Did he steal any items from the house? I asked my wife. I told her that the servant quarter was empty and Raja had left the house along with his luggage. I asked her to check if he had stolen anything. We were checking if all was intact in our house when my wife saw a polythene cover with clothes in it. My wife called out to me and showed me. What I saw shook my conscience. All the new clothes that we had purchased for him and the salary he had earned were all lying in the polythene bag. I took out my car and went to the bus stand to check if he was there, but I could not find him. I rushed to the city railway station. I tried to find him, but all in vain. Exhausted, I returned home. I slept early. I was trying to figure out why he would have left the house without informing. Probably someone else in the campus would have offered him more money for the work he was doing, I thought. The next morning, I was woken up from my dream. I could vividly remember what I saw in the dream. I saw Raja once again. He came to me and told me that he was not a child from this world. He belonged to another world and had just come to bring us some happiness in our lives. The mention of getting his DNA checked had upset him, and he did not wish to be identified. So he thought it was time to leave. Then he told me something. Your promotion letter is going to come to you very soon, and you'll be heading your department. And then he left. The last thing I could hear him was, I had to leave you. You are getting quite close to me. I received my promotion letter for true the next month. I never believed that I could get out of turn promotion. But he had left a vacuum which I could never fill to this day. My wife was most affected as she had to do the household chores again herself. I tried to bring new people as domestic help, but we were never satisfied with their work. Was it all in a dream? Was he an alien? Or was I just imagining things? Thank you.